1987, Dopemen, California, ain't nothing like it. Her voice echoed in the boy's head as he pictured her in flight, pursuing her own dreams. Maybe he'd catch up with her one day, maybe not. One thing was certain, if she did make the trip out west, she'd learn quickly. Cali was more than just fun and switches, and everyone in LA's got a little bit of thug in them. That mindset was a must if you were out chasing currency. Conditions hadn't improved much since '65, and the gang epidemic had worsened around the U.S. and had reached epic proportions in California. It had long been an open secret in both Americas that the agency was instrumental in supplying drugs to urban communities. Paragraphs and pages had been leaked for years, but as this one came to an end, the Contra scandal was shedding new light on the secret wars of the CIA. Drugs became the leading source of revenue in the South Central area, helping to divide neighborhoods and create dissension in gang ranks. The demand was high and the supply limitless. Hydras formed as brother battled against brother for the control of dope spots that they believed would one day get them off the block. California, Compton. Legend has it, Raymond Washington and Stanley Tukey Williams founded the Cribs around 1970. By the summer of 1972, they were known as Crips. Soon after, a set of theirs from Compton and the Piru Street Crips had words. The Pirus were defeated and sought revenge. Needing allies, they turned to a number of other smaller gangs that included the LA Brims, the Bishops, and Lueders Park Hustlers sets. This alliance quickly became known as the Bloods. Quincy McDonald was neither. As a lanky, soft-spoken 19-year-old, he'd spent his younger years among Bloods. He now lived in Crip territory. Like most neighborhood kids, he'd learned two things: to walk it like he talked it, and the best way to escape joining a gang was to have a skill they respected. Athletes were generally left alone, and so were musicians. Quincy was every bit a chemist at mixing sounds as the drug chefs had become at cooking crack. Part of a small-time band that was going nowhere, he earned most of his money making mixtapes and DJing at gang parties. He'd done a few for a paid Lil G from the Rolling 60s Crip set. When Quincy ran into some trouble, he gave his homeboy Edgar Evans a call. "Good looking, cuz. I ain't want to hit your old girl's house collect, but I figured she was at church this morning, and you'd probably be over there." It was a little after noon, and Double E had just bailed Quincy out of the county jail. He walked inconspicuously in front. A royal blue Dodgers cap was pulled low over his jerry curl, and a white t-shirt and blue Levi's were his only disguise.
Here's a little gangster, short in size. A t-shirt, Levi's is his only disguise.
Quincy followed closely in a members-only jacket, t-shirt, and tight slacks. At 6'2", he loomed almost a foot taller than Double E. They left the building and jumped into E's powder blue custom 1964 Impala. "Yeah, you figured right. I had just crept in right before you called. What up, though? What happened over there?" "Man, some old crazy shit."
What old crazy shit?
Yeah, the stupid shit, man.
You know how these pigs be trying to jack a brother for any old thing? I had a fucking warrant on some old parking tickets. 72 hours I was in that bitch on some bullshit. Double E laughed. "Damn, that's some old bad luck shit. I better knock on this motherfucking wood. I ain't never been in that bitch." Quincy couldn't believe his ears. "All these years you've been slanging, you ain't never been to county?" "Nope. I guess I'm lucky like that." Quincy shook his head thinking, all the dirt this brother do, and I'm the one they put in jail. "Well, you need to pass me some of that good shit," he said, "cause I'm sick of this here. I was with this honey, right? Bad bitch, big ass. I met her at the swap meet." "What you get over there?" asked Double E. Quincy poked his chest out. "I caught me some 100-spoke Daytons for the ride. That's why I couldn't make bail. I had just spent all my cash on them. But back to honey. I ain't have no money for a room, So I slid by the homeboy Killer B's house and waxed it. Now we in the room chilling with the Irk and Jerk and Old E. I fucked around and fell asleep listening to a Lil Bootsy. Excerpt 32.
6 in the morning.
Police at my door. Fresh Adidas squeak across the bathroom floor.
Out the back window, I make an escape. Don't even have a chance to grab my old school tape.
Mad with no music, happy 'cause free, and the streets to a player is the place to be.
Got a knot in my pocket weighing at least $1,000. Gold on my neck, my pistol's close at hand.
I'm a self-made monster of the city streets, remotely controlled by hard hip-hop beats.
But just living in the city is a serious task.
Didn't know what the cops wanted, didn't have time to ask.
That word. At 6 in the morning, somebody come knocking. I knew who it was. Don't nobody else knock like that. I heard Killer B in there tapping his girl. A couple of his boys is in the front room knocked out. Nobody got up to answer the door. They knock a couple more times and then all of a sudden, boom, the crash team kicks down the door and rush the motherfucker. Them guys in the front room cut out the back door. The bitches is screaming and shit. Killer B reached for his drawers and Quincy closed his eyes. They let his ass have it. Hit Holmes with the whole clip. Double E chuckled and shook his head. When I go, that's the way I want to do it. Deep in some pussy. Quincy raised an eyebrow. Man, the hoe I'm with cussing me out. Police got shotguns to my head and shit. Who did they want? Man, Killer B. Cuz was wanted on a 211 and a couple of 187s. They caught them guys who ran out the back. B's bitch caught a UUW. Lucky that greedy hoe I had smoked all the chronic, or they would have put that on me. You lucky they ain't give you none of they unsolved cases. Quincy hadn't thought about that. You ain't lying, man. The popos had us locked in these little cells, 50 and 60 deep. Brothers was stacked on top of each other. Cuz on one the right, slobs on the left. Man, I damn near went blind, all the busters talking shit and throwing up gang signs.
About to go and damn near went blind. Young niggas at the pad throwing up gang signs.
Everybody's breath stinking like they ass. Yeah, I was gonna tell you to have a tic-tac. Quincy tried to play it off. Go ahead, man. You know how we do. Beer drinking, breath stinking, sniffing glue. Yeah, I know. But for real, have a tic-tac. He popped a few. A luminous sun had broken through LA's infamous smog. Glossy lowriders kept warm under multiple coats of carnauba oil, sweetening the air as they passed by. Shorties rode custom bicycles down side streets. Knuckleheads shot hoops.
Went to the park to get the scoop. Knuckleheads out there, cold shooting some hoops.
And families had cookouts in the park. The Bacardi 151 and St. Ides flowed, blowing back the drinkers' curls like the palm trees on the bottle. G's in plaids and khakis chased after sisters in bright neon spandex. So far, only one person had taken a bullet from an AK, and that made it a good day.
Today I didn't even have to use my AK. I gotta say it was a good day.
Double E had been digging the scene with a gangster lean when he spotted some prospects in the park. He flipped the switches on his 6'4",
jumped in the foe, hit the juice on my ride. I got front and back and side to side.
and got front to back and side to side before he pressed the button on his Alpine.
Then I let the Alpine play.
This is DJ A&M. You're listening to radio station 103.787. None of that rap shit. Straight R&B, straight R&B, straight R&B. Man, turn off that bullshit. Play the tape, yelled Double E.
6 in the morning.
Police at my door. Fresh Adidas squeak across the bathroom floor.
Out the back window, I make an escape. Don't even have a chance to grab my old school tape.
Mad with no music, happy 'cause free, and the streets to a player is the place to be.
Got a knot in my pocket weighing at least $1,000. Gold on my neck, my pistol's close at hand.
I'm a self-made monster of the city streets, remotely controlled by hard hip-hop beats.
But just living in the city is a serious task.
Didn't know what the cops wanted, didn't have time to ask.
That word. I see you got that rhyme pays, huh? That man Ice-T is gangsta. Double E got all excited. Did you see the bitch on the cover? Whoa, that bitch got my shit on bone. The picture did nothing for Quincy. Man, don't even talk about it. My shit been killing me ever since the dick doctor juked me. Dick doctor? Double E yelled over the music. Hell yeah, Quincy shouted back. After they take blood and DNA and whatnot, there's a fat bastard sitting there with a long metal Q-tip just juking fellas in their dicks all day. Big bitch stuck me so hard, I'm still scared to piss. Quincy winced and grabbed his crotch, and Double E laughed loud. You could best believe I won't be going there. A tricked out El Camino pulled alongside them at a Compton stoplight.
A car pulls up, who can it be? A fresh El Camino rolling Kilo G.
The driver rolled the window down and started to say something, but Double E beat him to it.
He rolled down his window and he started to say, it's all about making that GTA.
KG, what's up, Westside? KG was so high he could barely keep his eyes open. He had that real California G drawl. Sup, 60s? A G out here looking for some of them slobs off Fake Street to roll on. He held up a Mossberg 500 Cruiser shotgun. For Sheezy, I got that Mac in the back for their ass. I just bailed out my man Q. He told me about Killer B. Yeah, we got a little something planned for them crooked ass Rampart biatches though. You know we gots to pull their whole card. But what up, Quincy, man? When you gonna make some new tapes, cuz your shit be tight. You be cutting up the tracks like a doctor. I'm still bumping the last one. KG pushed the bass boost on his JVC, rattling the bed of the El Camino. I'ma mix up a new batch when I get back to the lab, said Quincy. KG blessed him with a 40 of 8 ball. Q cracked it and started drinking. Good. Brothers in the street is dying to hear some of that gangster shit. The light changed. KG did some sort of twisted shit with his fingers, screamed West Side, and peeled off. Double E saw an undercover cop in a Chevy Nova and thought, if G catch another case, he gonna do some time.
Fourth offense on the boy, he'll do some time.
He did the smart thing. He laid low and crept up the block before taking another swig from the 40. Dumbass cops roll around all fucking day trying to catch a brother riding dirty. I'm tired of they motherfucking jacking, said Quincy. If brothers grabbed some 9s and started plugging their asses, that would put him in line. Double E stared him down. I'd do that shit. I don't give a fuck. I've been telling you, man. You need to leave that old sissy ass band you with alone. Brothers ain't checking for that no more. Homeboys out here thinking the same way we is. They want to hear songs about how they living. Some real gangster type shit. You know it's damn near 200 different Crip sets out here and over 50 Blood sets. When they go rolling on suckers, they ain't trying to hear no love and R&B shit. And they ain't with that pro-black shit, so they ain't yelling that either. Quincy thought about it. Ice-T was the hottest thing out. And even though the West hated the East, they were still bumping Criminal Minded from BDP. But still, man, that kind of music ain't getting no radio play, E. I'm trying to get paid. Double E stared harder. Man, who the fuck listens to the radio? Is we listening to the radio now? We can get rich selling tapes out of the trunk. I'm talking to some people about a distribution deal for a record label I just started. Plus, I got a couple of homeboys that write rhymes. We could start a group. With you making the beats, it's a wrap. When that money starts rolling in, them bitches on the radio will play this shit. Quincy was skeptical about going into business with a gangster. What he really wanted to do was pay E back the bail money and ride his Daytons into the California sun. Double E point when they pulled up to Killer B's house. Hey Q, check it out. Damn! Quincy yelled at the top of his lungs. They sat in the 6'4" for a few minutes. The sight of Q's car sitting on bricks instead of chrome erased any doubts he had left. What's the name of the group? He asked. Gangsters in Black, said Double E. Quincy looked at him. What time you want me at the studio, cuz? Double E laughed as they gave each other a pound. Come on, cuz. I'll take you over to Slauson and get you some wheels. Quincy didn't know it, but a bad set of circumstances had led to him making one of the best decisions of his life. Double E turned out to be more than a gangster. At heart, he was a businessman who'd watched and learned from some real OGs. 2 months later, Edgar Double E Evans and his group did what the others were afraid to do. They released an EP exposing the world to the reality of life in South Central LA. And after that, the game would never be the same. California, Beverly Hills. By 1987, Orenthal Lawrence, a bounty hunter blood OG, had become a high roller in Los Angeles. At 34, he had an empire that distributed coke and dope to a number of states throughout the U.S., including Nevada, Chicago, and New York. Standing and intimidating 6'6" and dealing directly with top members of El Medellin cartel, he had no problem commanding respect on the streets of South Central. That stature served him well again on Rodeo Drive, where he was fitted for the $2,000 suits he wore while running a number of legitimate businesses and lounging at Hollywood premieres. It was opening night at Mann's Chinese Theater, and limos lined the street of the black tie event as the paparazzi scurried to get a shot of the elite on the red carpet. Inside, each sat with their playbill in hand as they tried to unravel the mishmash of pop culture surrealism that had been branded art. After the show, Orenthal and his wife Juanita were at the bar sipping Glenlivet and parlaying with Judge Patricia McMullen and her city councilman husband, Daniel. Orenthal's voice was low and steady, like rolling thunder, and he spoke in slow, measured intervals with precisely the right mix of humor and sarcasm. I understand about the city budget, Dan. In fact, I overstand. That money is supposed to be for the entire city, not just the communities that house friends and business partners of the mayor. There are lots in that area that have been vacant since I was 12 years old. South Bureau looks like a third world country. No offense, Patricia. He pointed his glass in the judge's direction. She took a sip and pointed hers back. Oh, none taken, Orenthal, please, she said. Speak freely. While I know it's not your personal position, confessed Orenthal, many of your associates would love to see me and mine behind the walls of one of those state-of-the-art detention centers instead of behind the scenes of an art premiere. I can read the Wall Street Journal. Major corporations are investing shitloads of revenue into every aspect of the prison system. Big businesses have got interests in prisons. The more prisoners there are, the more food they eat, the more uniforms they wear, the more free labor the state gets, and so on. All I'm saying is this, Dan. While the politicians that run the city are spending all that money fronting like they want to stop me and people like me, they could put some of that money into the schools or some youth activities for the children in Jordan Downs or Baldwin Village. That would stop people like me. But instead, I see they've repaved the streets and put in new planters in Brentwood and Baldwin Hills, and they're steady building up the Hispanic areas. That's why there's no money left in the city budget. Daniel took a convenient sip and Orenthal continued. Oh, I see it clearly. Blacks will be the minority. A mass naturalization of illegals will mean taxes and loyal constituents. As for the Mexican mafia and any others still talking that Pancho Villa shit, well, there's a cell at the pen waiting for them. Daniel seemed to agree as he wiped his mouth and cleared his throat. Orenthal, you know like I do that the ethnic numbers in prisons are disproportionate. You also know that next year is an election year, and people are going to be looking at the mayor to see what he's done for them lately. No taxpayer wants to see their money go to someone else's community, and frankly, the major source of revenue in the areas you're referring to is non-taxable, as you know all too well. Juanita caught herself before she sprayed her drink, but this was a friendly debate, and the couple smiled knowingly. Orenthal was preparing his comeback when he was distracted by the approach of four well-dressed men. Excuse us, Mr. and Mrs. McMullen, but we would like to have a word with Mr. Lawrence. Perhaps you'd like to step outside, Mr. Lawrence. We have some questions we would like to ask you. Orenthal smiled politely. I could tell from your suits that you aren't from the state, but regardless, I'm going to have to refer you to my attorney. You could ask him all the questions you'd like. That's what I pay him for." Orenthal raised his glass and winked at the agent. "Then, Mr. Lawrence," he said, "I'd suggest you'd give him a raise, because you're under arrest for conspiracy, trafficking, and murder." The agents cuffed him, and Patricia comforted Juanita with a hug before she opened her purse and slipped her a business card. "You all do a lot for the community," she whispered. "Contact this man. Tell him I referred you. He specializes in cases like these." Then the McMullins got ghost. Juanita was embarrassed and nearly in tears, trying to provide damage control to the stunned theatergoers. Their special night had been ruined, but the worst news had yet to come. Sam, Orenthal's right-hand man, should have been at the premiere had he not canceled at the last moment. Juanita phoned him and found that the agency had him in custody too. With her back to the wall, Juanita called on the one person she knew Orenthal could trust. 2 days later, he received a visit. California, Los Angeles Metropolitan Detention Center. "Larry O, what's to it, little brother?" "Bro, trying to maintain in his dirty game, that's all, blood." Good Game took a pull from his square and looked away from the glass. His gaiters snapped steadily at the floor. "Damn, blood, I hate to see you like this, man." "You know our business. The cave or the grave ain't never far when you're chasing the almighty dollar." Larry O managed to smile. "Forget all that. It's good to see you, bro. How is everybody?" Good Game regained his composure. "Everybody sends their love. Lynette ain't been feeling well, but the kids are all right. Fame's badass is outside with Juanita. You know he got his little thing going back home. I'm going to nip that in the bud, though. His ass is going straight to college next year. I know that's the last thing you wanted. Tell him Uncle said get it together." "I will. Hey, how was Uncle Sam treating my nephew?" "He'd love it, man. He told me he was doing what he was born to do. Ain't that something? Well, as long as he's happy. Hey, look here, man. I know about them people and their phone lines. I'm right here now, so lay it on me. Whatever I could do for you, family. My man back east has got some godly connections. I might be able to call in a favor." "Thanks, bro, but this is political. I got this connected attorney, a high-powered Yarmulke named Francis Kleinfeld. He's on his shit. Juanita's been handling things pretty well the past few days. There are a few moves you could help her with. Business that punk bitch should have been doing." Larry O had forced the last sentence through his teeth. Good Game watched as blood vessels turned his eyes red. He wasn't alone. The visiting area reeked with strife, and the sadistic jailers got pleasure from the prisoners' pain. "Take it easy, baby," said Good Game. "You know the rule. Thorough brothers don't take the stand. They make a stand and do their time like a man. Sammy's gonna get what's coming to him. All things will play out in time." "Huh? Well, I got plenty of that. These motherfuckers trying to hit me with a 50-piece. That fucking judge denied me bail. They scared the brothers with passports. These Uncle Toms out here were so glad to get me off the streets that the mayor rode with them people when they seized my property, like I'm public enemy number one. The shit's been all over the news." When Larry O was taken into custody, the headlines read, "Mutiny on the Bounty. The agency scores a point in the war on drugs as alleged kingpin and murderer Orenthal Lawrence is placed behind bars when childhood friend turns CI." "Don't believe the hype," explained Orenthal. "It's crazy out here, blood. They coming after us like this? What about Leder and Sosa and them? You know I've been down there. They own that shit. All of it. Dope dealing cartels run South America. You remember last year in April, they had that news story about the plane full of coke the Costa Rican police caught going to Nicaragua?" "For sure," said Good Game. "That's what got Oliver North in hot water and kicked off the Contra scandal." "Right. You know the guy they caught? Adolfo Calero?" Orenthal nodded. "They linked him to this dude Richard Secord. He used to run Air America back when I was in Nam." "Huh? No shit." "Yeah, man. They got papers from Ali on file saying he was doing business with one of the Contra leaders who wanted to fly in 1,500 kilos. Orenthal couldn't hold back his smile. "That's long money, man. Long money." "You know it," said Good Game. "I bet you any money it goes deeper. I bet it goes all the way to Washington, too." Excerpt 34. Veteran drug enforcement agent Celeno Castillo III never figured his toughest anti-drug case would be against the federal government, which employed him for 15 years. Last week, flanked by civil rights leader Dick Gregory and the Reverend Joseph Lowery, he staged public protest at DEA headquarters in Washington to demand an official investigation into the government's clandestine Contra policy, which allegedly flooded America's predominantly black communities with cocaine during the 1980s. This was hardly the first effort by the veteran DEA agent to expose the story. Along with numerous other law enforcement officials, congressional investigations, and investigative reporters, Castillo has been battling for over a decade to expose the government's use of drug profits to finance covert operations against Nicaragua's Sandinistas government. For Castillo, the big picture became clear around January 14, 1986, when he says he tried to alert then Vice President George Bush at a U.S. Embassy party in Guatemala. At the time, Castillo was covering several Central American countries for the DEA, convinced that something funny was going on at El Salvador's Ilopango military airbase. Later revealed to be a prime transshipment point for Contra drugs, arms, and money, he told Bush, but he just shook my hand, smiled, and walked away from me, Castillo recalls. That same day, Castillo says, Bush met with Lieutenant Oliver North, then the point man at the National Security Council for sharing intelligence, transportation, and military facilities with Central American drug dealers and Contra chief Adolfo Calero. In the ensuing months, Castillo meticulously gathered his own evidence. In February 14, 1989 memo to his Guatemala-based DEA supervisor, Castillo detailed how known traffickers with multiple DEA files used hangars controlled by North and the CIA at Ilopango and obtained U.S. visas despite their background. There's no doubt that they were running large quantities of cocaine into the U.S. to support the Contras. Castillo told reporters in a 1994 interview on the eve of North's bid for a Senate seat in Virginia, "We saw the cocaine and the boxes full of money. We're talking about a very large quantity of cocaine and millions of dollars." Oliver North's own notebooks are chock full of references to drug-related Contra operations that clearly support Castillo's claims. On July 9, 1984, when the Contras were desperate for money, North wrote that he went and talked to Contra leader Frederico Vaughn, who wanted aircraft to go to Bolivia to pick up paste. He wanted aircraft to pick up 1,500 kilos of cocaine. This was an excerpt from San Jose Mercury. In April 1986, Costa Rican police seized a small airplane loaded with cocaine near the Nicaraguan border. Arrested was Adolfo Calero, second commander of U.S.-backed Contra forces, and 2 anti-Castro Cubans. This spurred an intensive investigation by Costa Rican authorities, which led to the expulsion of CIA agents involved in drug running for the Contra operation. Among those expelled were Oliver North and Richard Secord, former head of Air America. They could not be prosecuted owing to diplomatic immunity in the same way that Air America acted as cover for covert CIA cocaine smuggling. In the locations of both of these operations, standard military surveillance of these areas was shut down for national security reasons so that the CIA could conduct their anti-communist operations unhindered. Mark Zeppezauer, The CIA's Greatest Hits, 1994. In 1987 and 1988, a John Kerry subcommittee on narcotics and international terrorism took reams of testimony on the CIA cocaine connection from CIA agents, Contra mercenaries, drug pilots, Medellin cartel accountants, and law enforcement officials. Kerry said at the time, "Our covert agencies have converted themselves into channels for drugs." By Dennis Bernstein and Robert Knight, winners of the George R. Polk Award for Radio Reporting and the Jesse Meriton White Award for International Reporting. Good Game replied with a knowing candor. "Blood, you know what do. Drugs are running North America too. And you know they got to blame it on somebody. So I guess that's where brothers like you and me come in. Good Game placed his palm to the glass and bowed his head. Orenthal did the same. Just be courageous and strong. When the kingdom come and all these colors bleed into one, maybe then we'll all find what we're looking for. In 1972, there were an estimated 18 gangs in the greater Los Angeles area. By 1982, that number had reached 155. In LA alone, combined Blood and Crip factions reached 275 by 1996, with an estimated 150,000 soldiers at war with not only each other, but also the biggest and best equipped gang in the city, the 40,000-member Los Angeles Police Department. Some of them knew what they were up against. Excerpt 35. I will tell you this now. One day, a revolution is going to sweep down, and it's going to move straight across. And we ain't going to be talking in terms of Bloods and Crips when it happens. There's going to be a whole new enemy for us. Maybe it won't happen in my generation, but it's coming. Maybe I can touch just one potential ghetto star and start him thinking. Blood Member Rider from the book Do or Die by Leon Bing. Monster Cody. I want to say I see success, but what I see is death, because I know what they do to people who are poor, who are active, who don't relent or recant. The interview asks. They? My real enemy, the United States government. That's who controls the Crips, the Bloods, and me. Grip member Monster Cody from the book Do or Die by Leon Bing.